Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Being said, I'd like to call this meeting to order. That being said, also, so there is a echo in here, so if there is a person speaking, please try and let him get his or her verbiage out before we start rattling around, just so we understand, we can hear what they're talking about. First order of business tonight is to approve the minutes of July 17th and July 31st special meeting. Special meeting was to set the wonderful tax rate, if anybody wants to know what that was all about. So I'll take a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
I was not at that meeting, but
Where'd you have a second?
all right, I will second.
You just abstained from the vote. All right, minutes, are there any corrections, additions, deletions, et cetera, et cetera?
I don't have
Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye.
Aye.
All those against, nay. And abstention?
I abstain.
One abstention. Motion passes. All right, additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters or pressing matters that will require ratification at a future meeting. Scott, you have anything or?
All set, Peter.
All set? Anyone else? Board? Okay, moving right along to the manager report, Laurel Avenue project update.
So I gave the board just an update from the contractor. As you can see, he's running a little behind schedule. I guess the only good news is he's a little bit under budget. We've had a couple change orders. And talking with some of the residents and some of the folks there now that we haven't had rain in a period of time, it's starting to get a little dry. So he's been doing some dust control and trying to keep it from becoming a real nuisance for folks living up there, because they're starting to get aggravated now with the length of the project. But it should still be done without any other major. Just want to give the board that update so they get a chance to see what's been done, what still needs to get done, and that ultimately we'll have this thing wrapped up pretty close to right on budget when it's all said and done.
Any questions, board? Okay, we're along into the agenda. First item on the agenda is Rockingham Meeting House projects update. Mr. Wallace is on deck.
Public comments? Public comment? Either there were public comments on this.
We missed the public comments.
All right, I've been advised that I missed the public comments, and I know there's two people that would like to speak. So let's open it up for a public comment. Priscilla first.
Yes, I just have accolades for our Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department and for the EMT unit. I never thought that we would have to use it, but when my husband had his heart attack on July 14th, they were there. They were the first ones on the scene. Golden Cross also came. I can't say enough for them and say how important that EMT truck was for us. Like I said, shocked that we were going to have to use it. I thought, oh, if we never use it, it doesn't really affect us where the fire stuff is or the people. But I am so appreciative of those guys that came to my house that day. My husband's doing great.
I can see that, he's up and moving.
Thanks to his trip to Springfield and then future trip to Dartmouth and all they did. So just wanted you guys to know how much something like that is appreciated. And I know you've got the best interests of this community at heart and just thankful.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Reese.
Paul Reese, I just want to say I thank you for whatever board painted the sidewalk down by the diner red. That's great. But I also like to report I feel I've been robbed, but in the town of Rockingham. Several of my neighbors in the community. And we don't know who the robber is, so I believe it's the state of Vermont. Let me explain. I got my new tax assessment. It jumped up $111,100 on my house. It's now $254,100. Everyone told me, long as everyone's tax rate goes up, you're not going to pay anymore. Well, I got the tax bill, and it jumped. My new extra amount is $1,050.73. and I feel like a rob. I'm on disability of $21,000 a year. I didn't see this sucker punch coming, and it's $1,000 right off for me. And I'm angry because you know what? I can't even buy a Labatt's beer a couple times a week. And if I get into the hard liquor, we're gonna have trouble. But I'm gonna take the fight to the state of Vermont because it's a legalized, crooked system, and my neighbors are mad. Our houses are way over assessed. My dad built 25 houses and they started off at $18,000 in the neighborhood. And these same houses, you're telling me they're $254, but I can't argue because people have come up from the city and they're paying these prices. But it's unrealistic, it's gonna collapse because these houses, when I went to Municipal Bank, she says a home equity, I'll give you 167, it was the limit on the assessment of the house. So we're gonna have a fight with the state, but I may do a class action suit against the state of Vermont because that's legalized crookedness that they pull that stunt right out of my food, right out of my table. Thank you.
Thank you much, Mr. Aries. Anyone else? Going once? Yes, sir.
Speak anything I want to say? Is that this time or not? I'm sorry, first time I'm here.
Fred?
Yes, so you're yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, just set your name for the minutes.
Thank you. My name is John Horrocks, Horrocks. I'd like to know when the town is going to do something about these children riding motorized vehicles through the town. Someone's going to get hurt. The other day, a young man came out on Atkinson. I swerved to avoid him. I almost hit 2 parked cars. If I hit the parked cars with a tree, I died. The town gets sued. These children are underage. If you ride a bicycle anywhere, you're supposed to know your hand signals, your stop signals. You're supposed to obey all the traffic laws of the road. These kids are coming out of everywhere. 2 days ago, I'm coming down Atkinson towards the police department. Speed limit is 25 miles an hour. This kid comes out of nowhere, scared the crap out of me, excuse me, driving down the center of the road on the wrong side into oncoming traffic on one wheel. This is going on continuously. They're going down Atkinson faster than I'm legally allowed to go. You got kids, no helmets, no nothing. You're supposed to know that. You know what I mean? Another one the other day, I'm on a side street down like Williams Extension or whatever the hell it is, excuse me, wherever it was, and a young man's got earbuds in on a motorized vehicle, goes around, well, I think our mail trucks are electric now, goes around the mail truck, doesn't hear the mail truck, and clips the mail truck. Who's it for? The mailman, the kid, the idiot parents that gave a child a motorized vehicle? They're flying down the roads. Can I get one and go out drinking and get drunk? If it doesn't take a license, you can't take my license away. What's the difference? When is the kind of town going to do something? When a child gets hurt or an adult gets hurt because they swerve to avoid children? We all saw it all summer long. Kids that can't even hold up the darn scooter. But the parents are giving them motorized vehicles. It's not right. Something needs to be done before a child or an adult gets killed.
I can account for that. I've seen that happen, and I've seen it done riding down the sidewalk at that speed.
Exactly.
On Atkinson
Little
Street.
size, flying.
So-
And the police are sitting in Falls Bay doing nothing. Impound a few of these things. Tell the parents they got to pay a fine, and the kids don't know. Maybe if the kids learn hand signals, but they're flying right through the stop signs, right through red lights, right through stop signs. If it's not one of us that's swerving to avoid a child's going to get hurt. I don't want to see anybody get hurt of any age. But the parents are the ones that gave them the vehicles. They're flying at 35, 40 miles an hour. You know what I mean? It's not as, get on a bicycle, get a skateboard, that's fine. But these motorized things that are flying down the road, no helmets, no lights, no nothing. Pitch black at night, you don't even see them. You know, and it's ridiculous, but the police are doing nothing.
Well, I can answer that because that's not
Thank you, sir.
true. So Bellows Falls Police has issued warnings, but they are bicycles under the state of Vermont. They are not considered vehicles.
So I
they
can
don't
drunk
have-
drive?
No.
I'm
didn't say
sorry, I
that.
didn't cut you off. I
Didn't
apologize.
say that. But
You this.
so just like any other bicycle, they have to follow the rules of the road. So they have been pulling kids in. They've had parents come and do things. They have a helmet program for people that ride them without helmets. But in terms of a local ordinance, the state of Vermont has said those are bicycles. We have laws on the books about bicycles where you can ride them and not ride them, like in the square and other places. But on regular streets, you're allowed to ride a bicycle.
Down the middle of the road?
That's,
Literally down the center of it on one wheel.
May I make one comment? The village of Wallace Falls has an ordinance, and I think if you look at that, there is something in there in regard to bicycles and the safety and how they're supposed to react to that. Now,
right.
that's the place I would go, and, you know, and as Scott said, the police has been trying to, you know, take care of that situation, but they can't be everywhere at once.
No, I understand.
Can't think so. But I agree with you that I've seen it before, and I couldn't believe it's fast as those. You just think it's a joyride, it's crazy.
I had a moped when I was 16. When I was 16, I was to get back and forth to work. It drove 38 miles an hour. But these things are flying, and you don't even hear them.
That's right.
No, they're dangerous. I don't disagree.
They don't have the stop sign on Williams and Green Street on
Thank you.
my garden, and they just go straight through that stop sign.
Joe,
And that's a
you have-
heavily trafficked street.
Joel?
So I've seen it also. I think just about everybody in here has. I think the request is what is in place does not appear to be working in terms of rules and regulations and enforcement. Could the board and convey it to the trustees, take an action item to get something done about this and to look into this before we get to the end of daylight savings time? Because it's going to get a lot worse with these kids, because you're right, somebody's going to get killed. And the last time I heard, okay, the probability of a child getting killed goes up about 10% for every 5 miles an hour increase in the speed at which they're hit, because they're smaller and they get hit higher than adults do. So unless you want to see one of our children get plastered all over the road, which I don't think we do, could you take that action item and make a concerted effort to look into it and get something done about it, even if it means taking it to the state and getting them to do something proactive about this?
All I can tell you is that we'll work towards that point and see how far we get. I mean, we can't force anything,
I know you can't force it, but
you know.
you can use your influence.
Right.
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thanks. Sean, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that Sean McGinnis, boss. Chief Bemis and I and Sergeant Tuttle will talk about this at least 3 or 4 times a week. There are constant articles, mostly coming out of Connecticut, about the increase in e-bicycles, e-scooters, and injuries and fatalities. I was driving down Atkinson Street, getting passed.
That's what I meant. I noticed it.
So I totally understand what you're saying. As the manager pointed out, the laws are really tricky, and we have been pointing them over the police have been pointing them over as they find them. But yeah, it is definitely a problem that needs to be addressed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to hear. I didn't know anything. I've never seen it, so I don't know. But if you're telling me you have, then I appreciate that. Thank you. No problem. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, driver or kid on a leg.
Okay, you all set? No further comments? Okay, now Walter, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. What to say about this? One of the wonderful things, the other day I was reading a facsimile set of manuscripts, the earliest constitution, founding of the Green Mountain Boys and stuff. One of the things that I found fascinating in all the documents is that they're all signed by a committee. There's no one individual, there's no king, there's no one person that signs off before. It's a committee, typically of 7 people, sometimes of 5. There are reasons why we have this, and that's what this place is all about.
My first
That's what this meeting house is all about. Meeting house was built specifically to be for town meeting and for the gathering monthly of the select board. It was also back in the day for worship services, which is why there's a certain element, very simple kind of congregational element to the design. And it's the reason too why I think it's really important, and I think that the town has always recognized the importance. And I feel blessed that the town has allowed me the last few years to help in curation along with John Letman, the members of the Historic Preservation Commission, Ned Spalding, and Karen Jarrett, Elijah Zimmer, who's on board. We're trying to steward this place and make sure that our grandchildren have an opportunity to experience. I'm just going to kind of move around a little bit.
If we get to the point there, because it is a little warm in here, and,
Well, yes,
I know you like to ramble, Walter, but
I want to get
trying to, if we can get to the point.
Well, the point is that we have been involved in a major restoration project for this meeting house. We have received and have been able to pull together a package of about $1.9 million to help support a project that's going to preserve this place. And I want people to know where we're at right now. The project has been reframed. Up until now, we've been talking about there are three phases to the project: the foundation, the basics. Then we'll move on to do the plaster. Then we'll move on and do the painting on the outside. Well, we've reframed the process and the project more based on building systems, because it makes more sense. We're going to have to do some work on the plaster before we start doing some of the foundation work, for example. It's not a clear and cut and dry kind of project. So we moved away from the three phases, and that's something that I circulated. I hope you folks on the select board did get a copy of a budget, of a schedule for the project that includes the budget, so you can see the budget laid out over time between now and December 2027. Where we stand right now with the project, we are working with the National Park Service and the State of America Treasures grant and the semi-quincentennial grant, providing a good chunk of that $1.9 million. We are working with them for approval. They have to approve the work that we're going to be doing, because what we want to do is preserve this the right way. And right now, they have approved our engineering drawings for the foundation work, the drainage, the windows. We have received the federal level tribal review. Whenever there's a preservation project like this, federal tribes may have an interest. They've been approached, they've written off, and they have no interest in any ground disturbance or any other activity around here. We've completed a section 110 review. We're an additional historic landmark. It's another review that hadn't been done. We are getting a lightning suppression system replaced here. You do have a lightning rod system. It's about 30-some years old. The cabling is starting to rot. It's a very important way to suppress lightning when it strikes upon this hilltop. It's also something that's going to be, that's part of the conservation work. Is we're going to be working on this building, which will entail lifting it to get at the foundation. And when we do that lift, we have to be able to move it with the cable. So we're preparing for that. So later this month, August 25th now, the week of August 25th, that work should be undertaken. We also just late yesterday afternoon, received, just as we see everything above ground, there's a lot underground, and there's archaeology that has had to be done and will continue to be done. It has been noted by ground penetrating radar. There are anomalies that include the possibilities of some unmarked burials near the meeting house, not on the other side of the fence. So we have to be mindful and work with archaeologists to figure out just what may be in the way should we start to do ground disturbance with the foundation of the new drainage system. There's also the possibility that they may have found the foundation for the first meeting house, just to the southeast of the building, of this building. So these are the kinds of things that archaeology is trying to determine. They have asked that, and we are in the process of putting together an avoidance plan. There are certain areas on the side over here that we can't dig. We have to be very careful because they are close to the cemetery, to the graveyard. We also have to be careful about some of the space coming probably about 20 feet in from the fence. We'll probably have to do some scraping of the grass to see if there are any indications of burials beyond the fence. So that's all in process right now. We should be having all this stuff done by late October of 2025. Because we're also going to be moving in the direction of working with an architect to do some architectural work for some of the future things that have to be done, like the plaster work, some of the woodwork, both outside and inside. And we need to get that going now for work that may be done starting a year from now. So we're in the process of putting together and working with Lisa Papazian and with Laz Skangas, who are involved with the historic structure report. The assumption is that the National Park Service is okay with this because they know this building so well, and we went through a very compliant process of hiring them to begin with. We want to add them on as an addendum, and we're not going to go back to square one and look for new architects or a new architect and a new preservationist. We're also going to be initiating the bidding process for the initial work. The initial work is going to focus on the foundation and on the drainage, and more likely than not on the windows as well. And Chris Cole, he's here, has been the or hired owner's rep. Chris is a very well regarded historic preservationist. He used to have my job 30 years ago. He was the historic preservation coordinator here. I don't know just when that was, but I know that a lot of reports going back that still come upon them. Chris has helped put together the bidding documents and getting our ducks in a row so that we'll be very compliant with not only the town but with National Park Service requirements for procurement. So we're going to be doing that process. We're thinking October 1, bids will be going out, the requests will be going out, so that by mid-November, we'll be in the process of sorting through and seeing who we might be able to bring on board. The process will include having some of the contractors come here so they can see what they're doing, or just what the place looks like. And I can also point out that up until now, the construction management, if you will, for this project has been a steering committee with Scott, myself, John Letman, Karen Jarrett, Andrew Day has been coming and joining the conversation, and Chris Cole, of course. We've met irregularly over the last year and a half to kind of shepherd this and to respond to National Park Service, and also to put together things like the bid documents, et cetera, and to do some of the fundraising necessary to do this. So we're transitioning from that steering committee over the next several months to putting a construction management system in place, because we don't have the ability, we don't have the expertise to actually manage that moment-to-moment work with the contractors. So we're working on that right now too. So that's what I had to say.
So could you update us on the funding situation, where we at? We're gonna need more, I'm sure, but
Well,
just so people can understand.
yeah, no, this is a very important point, because it's something that our original budget that involved out of the 2023 historic structure report was something in the neighborhood of about $1.5 million. That's based on the cost estimates that were generated as a result of that project. I think some of us thought that was a little low, but that was also 2023. Been a lot of water under the bridge since then. Inflation has kicked in, and other issues have come into play. My guess for at least a year is that this is a $3 million project. And so that's why we went after the semi-centennial grant, why we are currently trying to move beyond the 1.9 million. Initially, back in 2023, we had something in the neighborhood of about $750,000. About a year ago, we had that up to about 1.6, and now we have it up to 1.9. We have a capital campaign that we need to jumpstart. When I say we, there's a committee involved with that, and do need to raise the funds.
Okay,
But that's also, if I may just point out on that budget schedule, the idea, we don't need all the money right now.
No.
And so in that budget schedule, you can see how things are spread out.
Right.
We have what we need for this moment, but a year from now, we're going to need some additional funds.
Any questions for Walter? Thank you for your explanation, sir.
Well, thank you for all the support that the town gives for maintaining this place.
Okay, good. Glad to be of help. Now, let's go on to the next item, which is the Rockingham Cemetery Committee project updates, and that's Anna McClarty.
Right, well, Walter did that well from back there, so I'll try to. I just came to talk a little bit about the progress that the committee's been making, because things have been going extremely well. One of the things that I'm most proud about is that we have become, I think, much quicker in responding to families who ask for questions. And we've had 4 in the last 2 months that were from out of state, and we were able to very quickly point them to the information they were after, send them photographs. I mean, they feel very connected with us, and I think that that's exactly what we're hoping for with the family groups. We're also super pleased that it seems the community's reaction, at least as far as what comes to me and the other community members, has been very positive about the new company that is doing the routine maintenance in the 5 cemeteries. I hope you've had a chance to see things and would agree that they are looking much better and that it is like continuing to improve over the course of the summer, which is fantastic. We also have another major project underway, which is photographing each of the permanent objects in the 5 cemeteries. When we went into the project, we thought that would be roughly 25,000 photographs, because 5 photos are taken of each object for archival purposes. We're finding that we're probably going to be more like 40,000 images total when we're done. If you see a beautiful woman with a camera crouched way down at the ground, I have some pictures just to share if anyone's interested today. That's Tricia Sirianni, and she's in the cemeteries between 20 and 30 hours a week right now. She's almost finished at Cambridgeport. She's done some work at Oak Hill, and she'll be moving on. Scott is sort of pacing her and deciding which cemetery she should do next, so that we get through whole cemeteries in this season when she's able to photograph. I'm especially excited about the partnership we've developed with the library. When all of the photographs are complete, we are working with Ian Graham at the library to work on a database that will be publicly accessible. There will be some steps to take if you want to see all 40,000 pictures, but we will have selected pictures pulled forward that the public will be able to access. And hopefully we will then be able to add stories about specific families to that as time goes by, or the families will also be able to contribute. So to make all of that public knowledge, we're going to be putting an exhibit at the library in the next month or so that's going to have some of Tricia's photography so people can see how that works. I sent out to the historical societies, please help me find a family with like a gravestone in the 20th century, just so we increase the likelihood that we would have family members. And I put in there extra points for a living spouse and lots of children. And lo and behold, they brought me the Kennys from Saxton's River. First Kinney family in Saxton's River had 19 living children. So I do have a picture of that. So if anyone's interested in taking a look at that story, that's from the newspaper in 1932, which we were able to locate in the library. So I'm feeling especially, enthusiastic about the work we've done this summer. I'm also feeling a little bit overwhelmed because it's growing quickly and our committee is shrinking in size. So I'm here today primarily to call for volunteers. So if anyone knows anyone who would be interested in doing volunteer work or possibly joining the committee, we are looking for help, and we'll have plenty to do over the winter as well. So it won't all be outside. Some of it's research and working on that database.
Okay, anyone have any questions for Anna? Seeing none, I guess you're.
I just want to add to that, Peter.
Yeah, go ahead.
That I'm stepping down from my position with the Cemetery Committee. So I don't know if the board would like to consider if we want to have a select board member appointed to the committee, or if we just want to look for other volunteers to fill that open position.
Probably wouldn't hurt to have another select board member. That way the board will be updated as things come along. So we can work on that at the next meeting, maybe get it on the agenda in the next month or two. So. Okay, let's move on to the appointment of 2 members to the Planning Commission. Deb Wright, her is looking for a 3-year appointment, and Andrew Dunbar, who was appointed as a student board member, he now wants to become a permanent member, and he's also looking for another 2-year member for him. So if I take a motion to appoint those 2 people,
I move that we approve the appointment of Deb Wright and Andrew Dunbar to the Planning Commission.
I second.
is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to appoint Deb Wright and Andrew Dunbar to 2-year terms to the Planning Commission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor would say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now, let's go to Municipal Fire Department stipend on-call pay. Just an explanation of what that is. This is in conjunction with the fire committee to transition to one municipal department. Scott, can you give some numbers on that, or I know Sean's here, so, or
Right.
Wallace. Here.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I think are important to the board, right? So there are some real definitions about what is considered compensation. Nominal is the key level. So 20% is what they test. So for a volunteer, if they're paid more than 20% of a comparable full-time firefighter, that is basically beyond what they consider a nominal source of income. So for our area, just to give you an example, the Brattleboro Fire EMS is starting at roughly $61,000 a year. So if our stipends are less than $12,200 a year, we don't trigger Fair Labor Standard Act. So it's based on that kind of. Sure. I'm sorry, I can stand up. So based on just that nominal 20%, looking at what a volunteer could make as a stipend versus a paid firefighter. For us, if we're looking at the Brattleboro as a comparable, which they recommend you look around your area of comparables, it'd be about a $12,000 roughly annual stipend before it triggers a Fair Labor Standard Act consideration for the reimbursement for a firefighter. So I think the board's consideration as we move forward with this combination of the departments is, would we go forward with a stipend approach, or would we go with a paid on call? Some other communities, we have looked at Fairhaven a number of times, how they do compensation, which is actually different than how we're proposing if we go to the stipend model.
The way the fire committee is looking at this is going to be a stipend on a sliding scale from bottom of the scale to the upper, depending on the incidents and responses, how many hours and times the person appears at those. The more times you come, the more money you have to be getting. It's a stipend, and the board will then set that stipend and give them the opportunity to either not take this stipend. They can then turn it back to the town, or where we would probably put it into a equipment fund for purchasing of fire equipment that's needed. Or we could set it up for some other fund, depending on what the committee decides. And that meeting will take place on the 21st. So if anybody's interested in attending that, it starts at 5:30. It's in the 3rd floor conference room at Town Hall. And I think Sean and Alyssa have worked up the figures for the responses and the number of people who show up to these incidences, because not everybody in the department shows up, depending on what the call is. It's an emergency call for a medical system. Probably 2 or 3 people may show up, whereas if it's a major fire, you may get 10 or 12. So we're taking all that stuff into consideration. That'll be discussed on the 21st of August.
I think there's other compensation for our volunteers. For example, we have a VFIS coverage, which is a insurance coverage, which is outside of workers' compensation coverages. So it's an enhancement. So if somebody's injured or gets to the point where they can't work, or they're actually killed in the line of duty, there are benefits associated with that. Those premiums currently are paid by the town, as well as the state of Vermont is looking at a bill, and it's currently in the Vermont House, and it's Vermont H0300, and it's at committee at the moment, and that would give all volunteer firefighters or emergency responders, not just firefighters, but EMT and other folks that are volunteers, a $500 refundable income tax credit on their income taxes. So that's currently going through the legislative process at the state. So if folks are interested and want to advocate for that, that's another opportunity to help support all of our EMS and first responders throughout the state, not just our current situation. So all of that is part of the, like we said, a larger package of items that will be discussed probably at the 21st meeting, then probably again at the board meeting in September.
Right. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was a little bit late because I was busy being in a bank robbery. But in the meantime, perhaps you covered this. I was told that when this merger comes through, there will no longer be 911 services. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
Yeah, that will continue.
That's correct.
Okay. I have a 90-year-old husband who needs it. Thank you.
In fact, the gentleman right there at the end of the hall is taking care of that 911 too, so. He's right on top of it, and he's got all the paperwork lined up to go, so. On top of it.
I appreciate your
Nope.
help with my
Anything? Nope. Anyone else? Mr. Dove?
When you make the documentation, you're gonna have the discussion on the 21st of the old rules and download like a day before, so people can take a look at it and analyze it for themselves as well.
Yeah, it'll be on the agenda, it'll be on the calendar.
So a downloadable
The
version.
minutes are probably already on there from the last meeting, so.
I'm not
He wants the current.
talking about the fact that you're going to, as Tom Kennedy said, you're going to be discussing the number of numbers and everything, so it would be possible to have a copy of those, like you guys hand out packets to yourselves. If you could have that downloadable for the public to look at beforehand. Otherwise, I can ask a whole bunch of really dumb questions and drag it out.
The last presentation we had at the library is also on the website, so if anyone wants to go through that, they can look at that.
Talking about what he was talking about with respect to the volunteer pay and stipends.
Right.
Those numbers specifically and the analysis that is being done. Can that be available prior to the meeting, please? That's
What was,
specific
yeah,
question.
I'd have to go to Sean and Wallace and find out what they got for materials and put on there.
So
I don't think that,
you don't want to give that.
it shouldn't be on there, but,
beforehand. It's what it sounded like.
yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Nope. Let's move on to the local number 898 contract update. This is the union contract for the town employees, just so you know. Some of the village that are on that union, so Scott, I'll.
So Peter was on the negotiating committee. We also had Paul Rusky from the village and myself and some other folks from town hall. We had a MOA negotiated, signed. It has to be ratified by the bargaining unit by the 20th in order to be brought forward for consideration by both boards. Both the village and town have to adopt that MOA since it impacts employees for both. At this point, they have not ratified the MOA, so I have been in touch with the union. There has been some concerns or consideration internally for them. I don't have a ratification yet, and if we go past the August 20th date, we go back to square one and start over. So everything goes back to zero, and we go back at it. So we shall see what the 20th brings.
Okay. Sounds like more fun. All right. That takes care of the agenda for today. We just need to do the review and approve orders and bills and warrants. Do you have anything?
I didn't bring it, no.
Okay, not a problem. We do them next week, next time. Review agenda items for the August 20th, 2025 meeting. There'll be a 6 o'clock start back at Town Hall again.
It's a special meeting just for mostly consideration of bylaws, so that's really gonna be the agenda.
The maps and the zoning regulations are posted on the website, so if anybody wants to go through 140 some odd pages and 3 sections of maps, they're welcome to just go on rockrift.org and go into the planning and zoning, and they should be right there. Review agenda items for the tri-board meeting on the 30th of September. Those, we got a little bit of time to work on that. We haven't got anything on there yet, but I'm sure the fire committee report will be on there. Okay, other business. Anyone have any other business?
I have a question.
Yes.
I've always wondered why fort number 4 is allowed to have a sign on 91. why can't we have a sign on 91, number one? And number two, when I first started here 900 years ago, we had about 6, 7, 8 weddings a summer. This year we've had one. And everybody that I talk to and I say, how did you find out about it? Well, some say, yeah, we saw it on the internet, or yeah, someone told us about it. Or we might have seen that sign that nobody sees down on the main road. So my question is, how do we go and get a sign on 91? We are every bit as important, maybe even more so, than Fort number 4. I like it very much, but we really need people to know we are here. This building must survive. The history of this building must survive. The references of everything that took place here must survive. And we're not getting any real depth of coverage for people to know. And first of all, a sign on 91 would be great. A better sign on the road would help also. We haven't had any, as far as I'm concerned, with the days that I have been here. We have not seen the numbers that we've seen in other years. And most people will say, we didn't know anything about it. We just saw a sign at the bottom of the road and decided to come up. So is there a way that we can do anything about that?
As last word I knew that the state had some issues with signs on Interstate. And that's why that gun, because I remember Leslie's Tavern had that sign on the side of their barn out there, so visit Bellows Falls, and they gave them a rough time about having that sign. In fact, they wanted them to paint that out. And I don't know how it
But there
happened, but
must
it's
be
still
some
there.
way, if Fort number 4 can have a sign on the highway, why can't we? Is there somebody that, Walter, okay.
Walter,
The question has come up numerous times over the last couple of years, and I can say that about a year ago, someone did look into it, and we were told essentially that by federal law, a state can only have so many historic diversion signs on interstate. And we have saturated apparently 91. And by law, it will take an act of Congress to change a significant part of federal statute regarding the allocation of funds for such signage on our interstates because of the rules and regulations that are in place. That came by way of somebody who worked at the time, somebody from the Meeting House Association at the time. I'm trying to remember, is it Kyle?
Yes,
He was working for the state police, and we talked with the people in the state, and just absolutely, he's aimed in the direction, and did the research, and it is not legally allowed. The state can say, we're gonna do it, but then they would not be allowed to, they would not be.
Okay, so we can get it on 91, but why can't we get it at the exit when you're off 91?
Because you can't.
Even there,
Yeah.
even though that's not, internet, I'm sorry.
It's part of the interstate. The interstate property is not just the roadway, but it's just, there's a lot of land typically around a kilometer. There was something, again, that Kyle had looked into, and it just seemed quite clear that it was just not going to be possible.
Well, I ask you all to please tell your friends for a delightful afternoon. Come up. There's a wonderful history about this place. There's a wonderful story, and if you're lucky, I'll play the organ so you can be terrorized. But this is such a fabulous, fabulous place that very few people really know about. So that's my 2 cents. You want to go first, or should I?
Well, I just wanted to mention that they're called OBD. I don't remember what that stands for, something business directional.
Yeah, that's.
And it's $175 a year. They're the black and white signs that at least we could put on 103. I didn't realize Rockingham Meeting House didn't have one. So we could talk about that.
Oh, good.
That's what I was gonna mention. Actually, Rockingham Meeting House does have a brown sign, which is the kind that's used for historic places, 2 of them actually. I don't think they can be made larger than they are, but they are along 103 and they do direct people in the direction of this, but only if people pay attention to
But
it.
they blend in with all of the.
Well, yes, and that's what processors do.
That one actually was down here was high enough so you couldn't even see it at one point. Now it's been lowered so you can at least notice there's a sign there. So,
We do pay, I think it's $500 a year for those signs, and I haven't gotten billed yet, but the next time that we do, I have bought the sign that's on 103 down by the salt shed, by the state salt shed. You can't see it in some measure because it's starting to rust. And the background just happens visually, the background is a brown wooden salt barn, so it gets lost visually. It's certainly all the reflection. I've taken pictures of it, so when I get the bill, I'll be saying, by the way, can you do something, maybe replace the sign where you need to go?
okay. There's no need for an executive session tonight, so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion's made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor would say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The evening is done. Roll nicely for everybody we're not.
Thank you for watching this Fact TV presentation. If you would like a digital or DVD copy of the meeting, please contact us by phone or email. Our phone number is 802-463-1613 or email us at fact810@gmail.com. Falls Area Community Television, keeping government honest.